We're live. Ani, bonsoir, and welcome everyone to our public information session regarding waste management systems options. I think this is great to see actual people in our council chamber for a meeting. I wish that we had all of you present at all our meetings. And most of our meetings are really a lot of fun for people who don't know there. But if you watch on the videos, you'd see that that you have a pretty good council here. So in order to start the meeting, I need someone to move the adoption of the agenda. Dave and Dean, all those in favor? Thank you. So this evening's a public session, which forms part of our public consultation of our waste management system options. The goal is to provide an opportunity for the public to ask questions, make comments, and receive information associated with the options being proposed for the municipality's waste management system. There will be no decisions made this evening, and the public consultation and the survey will remain open until January 26th, which is Friday. A decision will be made at the February 7th meeting of council. As always, members of the public are welcome to attend either virtually or in public. A summary of the waste management system report will be presented along with the current options and the results of the survey to this date. Then the public will be invited to address council. So I will start by inviting our Manager of Environmental Services, Kevin Benvenuti, to present on behalf of the municipality the waste management options as presented to council and the results of the consultation so far. Go ahead, Kevin.
Good evening, everyone. Turn that down a little bit. I hope everyone could follow along. We do have the information packages at the front of the room for people joining us in person, and for everybody online, it is part of the agenda tonight. So we're going to start tonight with a little bit of the background. The current waste management system was implemented in 2003. Its inefficiencies have been challenging to the municipality and have presented both operational and environmental compliance issues. Review of the system, its operations, compliance, and asset replacement have been regular discussions with council over the last 20 years. In June 2019, the Environmental Advisory Committee discussed the ongoing deficiencies of the waste collection and diversion system. The committee motioned to council to direct staff to analyze, research, and identify potential solutions to the system. Following council's direction to staff for an internal review, there was an opportunity to apply for funding to engage the service of an established consulting firm. The municipality underwent an 8-month comprehensive review and analysis of the system, and council was presented with the consultant's findings and recommendations in October of 2020. Council referred the report and review of recommendations to the Environmental Advisory Committee. In April of 2021, the Environmental Advisory Committee made 5 motions to council, which were reflections of the recommendations received from the consultant's report. These recommendations were to be short-term measures in an attempt to alleviate some of the system's burdens on municipal operations, landfill lifespan, and waste collection assets until long-term solutions were discussed and implemented by council. The Environmental Advisory Committee recommended to council, first, the closure of Highway 528 waste transfer site. Second, the waste transfer site at the Public Works Yard not to be available for use during any hours that the landfill site is open. This would be on a trial basis to gauge public reaction and determine if the site could be permanently closed. 3, to consider curbside recycling services for the urban areas within the municipality. 4, to have the Albin waste transfer site monitored by an employee extensively on weekends and during the tourist season. 5, to direct staff to research and report on financial considerations for the fencing and equipping the Albin, Manettville, and Shaw Road waste transfer sites. Along with the operational changes, there's also been provincial changes to the Ontario Regulation, Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act. The new regulations have affected all components of the municipality's Blue Box recycling program. which is slated for transition to full producer responsibility in April 2025. To meet the new regulations, acquire funding, resources, and compliance for the program, Council directed staff in December of 2022 to extend the curbside recycling program to the entire municipality in 2023. This allowed the municipality to successfully meet the 4% provincial targeted goals for recycling contamination, provide a better level of service for residents, and to alleviate issues at the current transfer sites. For example, capacity issues and staff cleaning up waste left outside the bins. By converting all current bins to household waste only, provided council time to consider a permanent solution for the municipal waste collection system. The municipality has since reduced its 42% recycling contamination rate to 0%. The resolution was passed for the extension of the curbside recycling program was in consideration of staff's report, which referenced the consultant's review on the waste management system, the interim measures that have been implemented, and the consultant's recommendations for a long-term solution, which was for curbside garbage collection for all residents. Excuse me. The resolution adopted December 7th, 2022 directed staff to further report and analyze on curbside garbage collection, extension of the curbside recycling program completed in June of 2023, and financial considerations that would include the following 4 items. Item 1, the cost of continuing the current transfer site option for Albin and Nuevo only with modified hours similar to the Nuevo site, the cost of each bin, number of bins required for household garbage only at each site, the cost of a truck, the cost of staffing Nuevo and Albin site during hours of operation, and any costs such as fencing, cameras, etc., to include the yearly amortization. Item number 2 was the cost of contracting out the entire transfer site system to an independent contractor for Nuevo and Albin sites only with modified hours. Manettville and Shaw Road transfer sites would be closed. For item number 3, the cost of contracting out household waste and recycling curbside pickups on Mondays to accommodate our seasonal residents. This will include opening the landfill site 6 days a week. And item number 4, for our private roads, just the capital cost of helping them. Further to the resolution, which outlined the 4 items, council collectively directed staff in November 2023 to report on financial considerations for item number 2, which was the compactable bins modified sites to include waste collection services for Shaw Road and Manettville locations. For item number 2, the closure of Shaw Road and Manettville transfer sites location was firstly a recommendation from third-party consultant JP2G, which completed the municipality's waste collection operations review in 2020. The recommendation came from misuse of those locations by other neighboring municipalities, and to implement controls at these sites would be challenging. They do not have hydro, and its site expansion would be required on property that does not belong to the municipality. After council had the opportunity to review, discuss, and question staff on the financial considerations for each option, council collectively agreed that item number 2, modified sites with compactable bins contracted out for Albin and Nuevo only, and item number 3, curbside garbage and recycling with the Sunday landfill hours, were the remaining items that were of consideration for the waste management system. On November 15th of 2023, council directed staff to launch a 2-tier public consultation process consisting of a public survey and an in-person virtual public consultation session to provide each household with equal opportunity to be engaged in the decision-making process, and for a method in which to solicit feedback in writing for the municipality on the 2 remaining waste management options being considered by council. The public consultation notice was mailed to each household, shared on social media, and on the municipal website. The online survey was made available through a link on social media. Survey is open until January 26, 2024, and it's on the website Paper copies of the surveys were made available in person at the municipal office and the libraries. The consultation period was launched on November 22nd, 2023, and will be open again until January 2026. Staff proposed that the main public consultation be focused on a survey as it become a beneficial and popular method in which municipalities can gather information from large and diverse populations. Benchmarks for acceptable survey response rates are between 20% and 30%. Excellent is 50% and more. To note, the average municipal voter turnout for the past 3 elections was 36.3%. The municipality has received 814 survey submissions as of January 18th, 2024, 119 questions and 183 comments on the consultation. This number represents 32% of the 2,611 households within the municipality. Of the 119 comments received from the survey and by email, staff responded to 46 of them to provide clarification on the following: volumes that would be allowed through a curbside program, island residents' access to the programs, Manettville transfer site closure, landfill hours. And of the 183 comments that were received from the survey, the majority were in concern of the following: illegal dumping and environmental impacts from individuals not having access to the services, the cost of option 1, the representation of option 2 being the most cost efficient, island residents not having access to services, and commercial establishments bearing taxation for option 1 for the service they cannot access. In the package, we do have the survey just to show what it looks like with the charts. And the recommendation is for council to consider adopting a solution to the waste management system at the regular council meeting to be held on Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. So before I turn this section over to the public, I want to make sure that presenters understand the ground rules in addressing council and the staff. All your comments will be directed at the subject at hand, which of course is waste management. To maintain decorum and order, each person will have up to 5 minutes to address council. We want to ensure that everyone has the same opportunity to be heard. This is not a debate, but an information gathering exercise for council to hear your views regarding waste management before its February 7th meeting. We will attempt to answer questions as they are presented, if appropriate. Depending on the question, we may not be able to answer it immediately. However, we will make note of it, and then we will answer once the information becomes available to us. At the 4-minute mark, the clerk, Mel, who's sitting right here, will signal you, and you will have 1 minute left to wrap up. I do intend on keeping to the 5 minutes. So please, once you see the 1 minute signal hand, wrap it up. I'm sure I don't need to remind those in attendance and those on Zoom that personal attacks or any disrespectful comments will not be tolerated. It is okay to be firm and passionate about your position and your comments, but any type of rudeness is not acceptable. So the way we're going to proceed, we will begin in alphabetical order with presenters that are on Zoom, followed by those in chambers who have registered in advance, and then those present who wish to address council and staff. If possible and is appropriate at that time, again, staff will try to attempt to answer your questions, or we will certainly get back to you. I will let you know when it's your turn to make your presentation, and I ask that you give your name, your full mailing address to the clerk, and then follow with your comments. You will be going to the microphone. You press the little silver button, the little red light will come on. And the purpose for that is not just that we hear you a lot better, but also the people that are on Zoom will be able to hear us, to hear you as well. And also we are recording this session. And so the sound needs to go through the system. So we're starting with Zoom and in order of alphabetical order. So the first presenter is Kathy Cattier. So Kathy, can you put your mic on? Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
And begin your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak on behalf of what I've heard, or some rumors, some true, about garbage pickup. We first have had our cottage on French River for a long time. We're on Turin Road, and a big population of that road is cottage people. So when they first came on and introduced Blue Box, it wasn't too much of a concern. We only use our cottage every second week. We babysit our grandchildren on the off weeks. And of course, when they introduced Blue Box to us, it was on our off week. So not once, well, maybe once we got to use the Blue Box service. So we hauled our Blue Box home all the time, which isn't an issue. We live permanently in Lively, Ontario, and there's no restriction on how much Blue Box, what happens with your Blue Box. You can use as much as you want. But now I'm hearing that we're considering having garbage pickup, which becomes an issue for us. We don't have a garage. So typically every time we leave the cottage, we bring our garbage to the Albin drop site, which has worked perfect for us for years. But if the garbage pickup happens to be on our off week, which when we don't know when that's going to be, depending on the babysitting schedule, which means we will never get garbage pickup, which means we're hauling our garbage home. When we haul our garbage home in Lively, we're allowed 2 bags every second week. So that will become an issue. So I am concerned with garbage pickup. We only have one of those Lowe's portable sheds, which has already previously been broken in by a bear. So, you know, what am I left to do? If garbage pickup is on a Monday, well, maybe we could put it out Sunday night before we leave. That doesn't work great because our neighbors won't be happy if the bears spread the garbage all over our road. I could maybe ask our neighbor to put our garbage out. I don't think that's fair. For us, we don't really, I mean, I think you've done a wonderful job for our roads. You've done a lot of great things, but to have garbage pickup on our street, I don't see that working for myself and many of the cottages that are on my street, unless they're permanent cottages, and most of them aren't there all the time. So that's really all I have to say, is that the bins have worked perfect for us. I don't know if by putting more cameras or having somebody work there will help, but I'm not for garbage pickup. I'm for the bins, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Much appreciated. Please feel free to stay online. You don't have to disappear.
Okay.
Okay. You can watch the rest of the meeting. Now we'll move on to the next person, which was supposed to be Joanne Zia. And unfortunately, Joanne was that something came up at the last minute, but she asked us to please relay her comments to you. So she says, I would appreciate if my message here could be relayed during the meeting, and apologies once again for not being able to attend. What I was going to say is rather simple. Those of us who live in very remote forest areas really aren't candidates for roadside pickup, as having garbage sitting on the roadside in the forest would simply attract animals, which in my opinion would become dangerous. We need to guarantee that there is a way to drop off garbage without challenges. Otherwise, some people may just drop garbage wherever. Ideally, there is a drop-off site available 24/7 every day of the week. Otherwise, we run into issue with someone leaving the cottage and having nowhere to drop off their garbage and possibly just dumping it somewhere. Not everyone would be so irresponsible, but it would be naive to think that there wouldn't be some that are. Ideally, in my opinion, the Albin Blue bins remain open all the time, at least for garbage. Having to drop off recycling at the dump is a pain. Her words, not mine. But we can live with that. So those are the comments by Joanne Zia. The next person is Marianne Kirch. And Marianne, are you on?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, I see you. You guys are kind of tiny.
Oh,
So-
sorry.
Welcome, Marianne. And
Thank you.
go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be present. I live far away and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here and give you an idea of what our challenges are. We have had a family cottage on the French River since 1962. It's a water access only cottage, and we gain access to our place through the French River Supply Post. And we have always been able to take our garbage and then recycling to the large bear-proof bins there, which has worked really well. We're faced with challenges. First, obviously, there's no curbside for us, but Albin would be a minimum need for us to have a place to drop off, and the recycling as well. The family all lives far away. The closest person lives in upstate New York, and the rest of us live in the West Coast US. So driving garbage home or recycling home isn't an option. I had also seen in some of the survey questions where there's a proposal to limit the amount of garbage that one can take. And I don't know if there's been any progress made on that, but that's a little problematic in that we're seasonal users. We're not there the full season, so we might be there a week or two with heavy use and then gone for a week or two or three. So for example, when I have my 8 grandchildren there, I might have 2 bags of garbage and a bag of recycling per day. Storing it at the cottage is problematic, just like the other women have mentioned, that you've got bears, you've got critters, etc. And it just doesn't work. For me, I would say that I would ask you to reconsider having those bins at the French River Supply Post for those of us that utilize that marina for access to our cottage, because that was an ideal drop-off place. It ensured that nobody's going to be dumping out in the woods. It ensured that nobody's going to have a problem with bears or other critters at their cottages. And really just a centralized location services, I think, quite a few people on that part of the French River. Recycling, I hope that there can be an improvement there. I'm a huge recycler, and it's always disappointing to hear there's failures with that and people abusing that program or incorrectly using it. So I guess my take on all of this is, for those of us that are seasonal and part-timers, I would request that you reconsider placing those bins at the supply post. I think that's more urgently needed for folks in my position, and there are many of us. I think
Thank you
that's
very
it.
much. That's okay. Thank you very much, Marianne. The next presenters, I have Dave and Sylvie Lucas. And Dave, there you.
Good evening. Can
There
everybody?
you are. Okay.
Perfect. First off, again, I'd like to say thank you to the mayor and council for giving residents the opportunity to speak to this issue. I've read through the reports and it's a challenge, and I can appreciate that, and tough decisions would need to be made. So I appreciate council's predicament that they're in. I like the first presenter live on or have a place on Turan Road. I was a bit when I filled out the survey, it gave the option of the questions were you seasonal, and I didn't know how to answer that because I wouldn't consider myself seasonal. I don't live there, but I'm there 12 months out of the year. You know, in the summer it's every weekend. In the wintertime it's 1 to 2 weekends. You know, in the winter months. So again, I didn't know where to fit myself in the category, and I know there's quite a few residents on Turan that are in that same boat. So I guess just a thought in the future surveys to try and identify those demographics. I too like the depot. To me, again, works, and that's, you know, again, that comes from a selfish place that it works well for us, as well as the recycle. When the recycle switched to Wednesdays, there's no way I maybe was there 2 Wednesdays in the summer. Like it didn't work. It seemed like a weird day to put it. So I was happy to see that if the garbage does go to curbside, that would be Monday to respect the seasonal residents or however we're labeled. I guess in reading through that too, it's tough for your council, and I appreciate that decision process that 42% of your residents are seasonal or people like me that don't live there, but we spend a fair amount of time there. So that's tricky to consider everybody's needs when needs can be so vastly different. But I would say on Turenne Road, that would be to go to a curbside garbage pickup. It becomes my concerns as well is where do we put the garbage when we leave, to keep animals out of it, but still allow for a pickup. So I guess there's some challenges there that don't affect full-time residents, but will definitely affect seasonal residents or part-time residents, however you want to label us. So that would create some concerns. And I also read, as reading through the report, there seemed to be the previous reports, there seemed to be an undertone that oversized garbage was being left at those transfer sites. And I can 100% attest to that. I had seen that on numerous occasions, people leaving stuff that shouldn't be there. I don't know that eliminating the transfer site is going to eliminate that problem. Unfortunately, I think all you're going to see is it get dumped in the ditch, here, there, and everywhere. So again, I don't know what the answer to that problem is, but I don't think that problem is going to go away just by closing the transfer site. So I think that becomes a bit of a non-issue. So I guess just in closing, I would say be mindful, and again, you've got to make your decisions, but be mindful of residents, the seasonal residents and the part-time residents that do live in the more remote areas. And I don't think it's fair to our home municipalities that we're trucking garbage home, because if we don't have anywhere to put it, that's the reality of it. We'll bring it home to our home municipalities, which again puts burden on other municipalities, which shouldn't be there. So I just want to say thanks and good luck with the decision. And I appreciate the survey and I appreciate the public consultation. It's a tricky position, but I appreciate you allowing us to have the input.
Thank you, Dave. I believe, Kevin, you have a comment or you needed to answer a question from someone?
Yeah, from you, Dave. I believe you asked what to do with your waste. You can put a permanent bin at the end of your driveway. That is allowed within our municipality. We have it in our waste management bylaw. So if you aren't going to be there on the day of, you can place it there in an animal-proof container, and it will be picked up by our contractors for our recycling. And it would be the same for waste as well. Just to address, the curbside will be on a weekly basis for household waste and bi-weekly for recycling, as well as to answer to comment on for Settlers Bay and the people down by the supply post. There is a recycling shed for all those residents to use. It's placed at the French River Inn on Settlers Road. So on your way out, you can place your recycling there. We have already placed several sheds within our municipality for residents like you that are on the islands and private roads. So just to answer some of the concerns I keep hearing coming up. So thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Now we'll move on to Brett Moore. There he is. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks again. Just the same sentiment of others of allowing us to weigh in. I live on, I've got a family cottage on Dry Pine Bay on 4 Mile Island. So similar to Mary, we use the supply post. Basically, I see it as a community hub. Really, it services not just cottagers, but people that are just there, so day boating, and obviously the huge influx during the summer months of folks using the provincial park, as we always, a lot of us like to see, and it's a going concern during those months. Again, thanks to the municipal staff. Before this, I sort of took for granted garbage in the area there, and your staff have been great to get back to folks with emails and whatnot. So it's much appreciated. and again, for the engagement through council to allow things like this. So just get those nice things out of the way. Whatever decisions made, obviously, just listening to some of the dates that have been put forward here tonight, whatever decision, this current process is 20 years in the making. It's taken 4 years to review the current process that you've got. So needless to say, and it was a bit of a concern to me and my family, is whatever decision's made, it isn't going to change. This will be decades in the making. So it's an important decision. And you've got when I sort of digging online, interesting to see the variety of folks that are called the French River home, with the almost 50-50 split between permanent and folks that call French River a seasonal place to stay and live. So that's great. For me, it'll just be quite a lot of the questions have already been answered before I signed up to ask to speak. But I guess where I'm just wanted to maybe get some feedback directly is I thought that the supply post bins that were there, you'd see the garbage truck come every week, it seemed, and it looked to be a municipal truck, and I just assumed it to be a municipal service that was there. I didn't appreciate or understand that the difference. I guess you're picking up park goers' waste is included as with the residents there as well. So for us, I just want to make sure that I understand, depending on the options that are there. I didn't even know that the French River Inn existed as a place to drop garbage off too. I just assumed it was the 2 bins that Mary mentioned as well that were there, that were there, run by the municipality. So that's interested to know if either decision that is made, either option that council chooses to take, what role will the French River Inn play, like in either decision that's made there, and what how do I say it? Like, what ownership do you have in the French River Inn? Could that arrangement change? And knowing that this is going to be a long period of time, could something happen to the French River Inn option that could, in the years to come? That then obviously, Mary mentioned as well. We don't want to drive. If at all possible. Oban is a beautiful little town, but it's a good 30-minute drive away, and then if Noelville's even further. So, just as a resident seasonally, we'd like to have an option to with either choice that's taken, to dispose sort of responsibly of our waste that we create, and go from there. Yeah, no, I think that's really it. I'd like to, just as a quick way and to try to decipher the different emails that have been kicking around in the last week or two. It's just a little confusing to me to know where folks in our Ward 4 area stand with either, depending, regardless of either which option is ultimately decided upon. So thanks again. I don't think I had any other questions that haven't been already answered, and I'll leave it at that to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. And Kevin's going to answer some of your concerns.
Thank you, Brett. Just to answer for the French River Inn, it's just a lease agreement we have with them. We are looking at moving it onto the French River Supply Post Road. It is just the shed. But just to clarify, as for right now, it is only for our recycling program. So for your waste, it's still the ACC is where you're supposed to bring your waste. Where you were putting it at the supply post, that was just a commercial agreement between the municipality and the supply post himself. He was just allowing you to use his commercial bin. So council, we made a decision in the spring to cancel those agreements in October of this year, or of 2023. That's why that bin was removed, but it was only for commercial establishments, and we were only doing 15 establishments with those bin sites. So just to clarify that issue.
Thank you.
Could I ask, could I just have one follow-up? Is that possible? In one of the emails from staff, they got back to me and mentioned that if council decided to do pickup, that the French River Inn location would also then be opened up to garbage. What do you say to that?
Kevin?
Yeah, correct. So those, all the sheds that we had would be for recycling and waste for the people that are on the island. So that way you could put it there and it would be collected from those sheds on Mondays.
Okay, and I guess the very last question, and I'll move on. If the roadside is not decided and it goes to the pickups in Oban and Noelville, is the bin set up in areas like the French River Inn? Would that continue?
All the sheds are going to stay remaining no matter the decision, no matter what council decides. That is our recycling program going forward. We will continue with the blue boxes because that is what we are lined up to for the new funding from the Ontario government when they take over. So that is what they have approved for us to use. So
thank you.
Kevin,
Thank
it's
you.
Kathy. Can I just ask one more question? You mentioned in
Sure.
one of the answers was that you talked about bare bins. Like typically if you take away garbage pickup, except for roads, I don't use any services in Albin or Noelville. So what is the cost of a bare bin? And is this municipality picking up those costs?
that still a lot of these questions like that, council is going to have to make a decision on what they are going to do first, whether it be, and then they would come to staff with solutions for these problems because we're not sure which option is yet. So, but as for the bins, you can make it yourself for free, or you could purchase one. It is really, there's specifications for the bins in our waste management bylaw right now that you do have to follow. So that way there's not just a bunch of freezers at the end of driveways, because we see that in other municipalities and our bylaw does not allow that. So, but we're waiting for council direction and then they'll come to us with whatever concerns or problems they have, and then it's up to staff to figure them out from there.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to the next speaker and then I'll come back to you, Brett, okay? I see that there's a person called Peter on Zoom, but I don't have you registered. So I'm not sure if you're just watching or if you wanted to make a presentation and would like to hear from you. Okay, well, I guess he's a man of few words. Okay, so now I will move. Okay, before I do, Brett, did you have one more question?
I do promise. It was just again trying to clarify some of the emails that were banted back and forth. If the will the municipality still pick up if we make a private arrangement at the French River supply post? Will the municipality still take the garbage at the transfer sites in Oban and Noelville if we make a private arrangement to have the garbage hauled there? Will you accept the garbage like without cost, which would just trying to figure and sort of think of different options that are going to present themselves this spring? Because a high cost, I would imagine, of that relationship, that private deal, if we had to do it, would be in getting rid of the garbage.
Just to clarify, for option one for the transfer sites, they will be hauled by a contractor. As of now, the site will be manned by municipal staff, but the two sites, they will be roll-off trucks that are hauled. I'm not sure. Are you asking about at French River Supply Post or
If
for
we
the
make
actual option?
Yeah, if we make a private deal with the Laplace family to take our garbage to the Oban or Noelville site, will you accept that waste from us as ratepayers free of cost, as long as we pay for the transportation of the garbage? I don't know if that's even an option that's being considered, but it's something that that may ultimately happen depending on what happens.
Yeah, so right now, a lot of the businesses have been using a private contractor, and there is no cost for household waste at our landfill site as of now, unless user fees change in the future. But all the household waste, as long as it's separated, there's no recycling and no construction material, it's free. So if you were to have a private contractor pick it up, it would be free at the landfill site.
May I ask a question?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so I guess I'm a little confused about the bins that were at the French River Supply Post. Are you even considering putting something there for those of us with boat access only? Are you considering replacing those bins
No.
and using that as a
No.
collection site?
No, it will be up to Mr. Leckhouse if he chooses to do so, to set it up, just like the other commercial businesses in French River, to contract out the bin service. Mr. Leckhouse will then have a choice to offer that service, as he has in the past, to those living on the island.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Yes.
You're welcome. All right, so now we'll move into the in-person registered speakers. So I'll start with the registered speakers in alphabetical order. So Claude Bouffard, you are the first. That's what happens when your name starts with a B. Remember Claude?
Yep.
I remember
You're
from the
okay.
old days, 5 minutes is 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, now it's not 25 pages I have there. I just want it to look good, that's all. Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public and ratepayers. My name is Claude Bouffard and I'm a co-owner of Jean's Home Hardware, Jean's Building Supply, and also Mobile Self-Storage, and also owner of some vacant lots in the municipality. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to voice my opinion on this important and very big decision that council will have to make. And that will be for the next 20 years. This municipality will be impacted by your decision that we're going to make. I have read that there has been over 800 surveys received as of January 18th, and quite a bit more have been received after that date. Or there's still a couple more days until, I think until Friday. This is quite a big number of people that have responded to the survey, around 32%. And as Kevin has said, it's a big percentage compared to municipal election and things like this. As per the results, 44% voted for option 1, controlled transfer station, and 84% voted for option 2, curbside pickup. I am for option 2, curbside pickup, even if I will not get curbside pickup because I am a commercial establishment. There are many reasons why I support this, and here are just a few of them. Option 1 would put an extra 3.56% on all our taxes. And as you know, commercial taxes rate are higher than residential. And that would be above what your budget would come up with. So we could be facing a very big percentage of taxes hike. Furthermore, there are some big projects that we can talk about that are coming up, at which some of our reserves could be used to help with those. Also, we all know, and we've talked about, that we will never go back, or we can't go back to the way it was with the bin sites at many locations, which they were abused and over, and there were no control on what was put in them. In Monetteville, where I live, the bins are not even there anymore. And so we can't go that route. Option 1 would see a big change also in 2 big bins, fenced, manned, and not open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like we have been used to. So there's big changes coming with any which way we go. There are many more concerns about option 1, but I would like to take a moment to talk about benefits of option 2. And tonight I've heard a few times about option 1, or even if we go with option 2, about buildings or sheds that you say that you have at some location. They could be used for both garbage and recycling. First of all, if we choose to option 1, it would be a very big startup cost. We could contract it out and know exactly, if we go with option 2, we could contract it out curbside and know exactly what the cost is going to be. And in the contract, if this contract is made properly, you could have all kinds of stipulations in there that if it's not done according to your concern, your quote, you can always find them or make a point to it. Like MTO was doing all the roads in the past, and they opted out of that and put them all to tender. And they found better as they know and have a better control over it. There's going to be some snags for sure at first, and there will have to be some adjustments, but all those can be worked out by education to the taxpayers on when to put the garbage out at the curb, etc. I see all the sheds again the municipality has built. They can be used for both recycling and garbage. And there could be some more put up to help the people that are on the lakes and have the only water access. And we could find some places to put them. And they could put their garbage there when they're leaving. There are not too many municipalities that have bins 24 hours anymore. Only a few left, and they too will be faced with major decisions. in the
That's your
near
1
future.
minute mark.
Okay, I could go on with this, but I'm sure you have heard it often enough, and you have all tried for this subject, and it has been talked about for many years, and all the surveys and the research show that curbside is the way to control the garbage and the recycling, and everyone has to do their share if we want to keep our taxes low and our beautiful French River clean and pristine. Mayors and councilors, you have a big decision ahead of you, and what you decide will be with this municipality for the next 20 years and over. Every one of you took an oath to make decisions on what would be the best for the whole municipality for the long term. I'm confident Mayor and Council will make the right decision next week on this. Thank you for listening to my comments and concerns.
Thank you, Claude. Much
Thank you.
appreciated. We'll move on to the next speaker, which is Michel Bouffard.
Good evening, council, staff, members of the public and that. Just fast, I've been here for a long time since like Claude, but Claude's even been longer because he's older. 67, and I've seen a lot of different changes throughout the years. And, what's bothering me a bit is since the pandemic, the price increase on everything. It's hard on the people. It's hard on the businesses, and our culture. I'm scared that with tax increase that the people that are from around here are going to have a hard time living here. And we have a family tournament. We have a lot of culture in this area that I like to keep. For me, trying to keep the taxes down for, you're looking at businesses, like how many businesses we had, just a few years ago, we had 4 restaurants in Noelville. Now we don't have any. We have a chip stand, things like that. Because it's hard. There's not enough disposable income for people to survive. So we have to try to minimize that as much as we can. So for myself, I was on council 10 years ago and that, so I know about the budget, things like that, and I know the fixed costs that come in that the CAO brings to you and the staff, and you have those costs and you have a little bit of money to put aside. So we're if you're looking at taking from the reserve, well, that takes away from other projects that you're looking at in the future. Like, you never know what comes around the corner. So if you're taking money from that, it's got to be replaced. And if it's going to be replaced, then it's going to raise taxes. The other thing on the site, on the number 1 site where you're over 600,000, and that this year it's for buying stuff and things like that, the cost of that. But now that becomes a fixed cost for next year, where that plateau that you're at is going to have to be higher if you want to do something else. So that's some of my concerns that option 1 brings. uh, a pickup. I was here before before amalgamation, we had pickup in Noelville. We had pickup in that, and I remember Cesar hanging from the truck and that, and it was okay. Garbage is an inconvenience, no matter which way you look at it. That doesn't matter. Garbage is an inconvenience. So, what is the best solution on here? And that's what you guys are faced with. So, in order to, instead of spending 600,000 to set up bin sites, I see that Kevin's addressed a lot of the problems that the seasonal owners have in that. Why don't we look at putting it in the landfill? Because what happens with these bin sites, you can't control what's in the bags and that. You're compressing 40 tons of material and bringing it to our landfill site, where we're trying to keep the landfill sites as long as we can. In order to do that, we need to be able to know what's being put in the landfill. Now, if we look at maybe fixing the landfill like Sudbury, like other municipalities, where you drive in and you dump in bins there and we don't go into the dump, it'll take care of a lot of people's concerns about getting nails in their tires, mud, things like that. And you'll be able to address what's going into the landfill site in order to keep it for longer, for more years, because there's a big cost in closing it, in moving it, and things like that. So in order to do that, I think that the best option would be pickup. And it's an inconvenience. I know it's an inconvenience to a lot of people, but garbage is an inconvenience. You're going to be opening the dump 6 days, maybe 7 for partial the days. If we set up it properly, I will be able to manage this and have a good management. The managements are doing a great job at the landfill site. We just have to make it happen and use that money so that we can save it for our future, and not raise the cost of our taxes on a yearly basis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michel. Now I'd like to invite Linda Lachance to come up to the podium.
Madam Mayor and councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here representing the Trout Lake Campers Association to express our concerns with the proposed changes to the garbage and recycling systems. The board of directors is unanimously opposed to curbside garbage pickup. The curbside recycling program has been in operation for a few months, and so we are already being impacted by this program. As you know, the recycling bins previously located on Shaw Road, Owl's Nest, and other roads have been removed. The truck picks up recycling on alternate Wednesdays. Due to the number of our members who are seasonal users of their properties, often only coming on weekends, the Wednesday pickup schedule isn't really viable. No one wants to leave recycling out at their lot line for a number of days until it's picked up. Then the empty bins are also left at the curb until the property owners return. This is an advertisement that no one is at the property and just invites break-ins and theft. The issue of garbage and recycling being left at the lot line as proposed will result in wildlife being attracted to it. Bears, raccoons, and other scavengers, which will become problems. The animals will spread garbage around into the bush and so on. They've even been known to take entire garbage pails off 200 feet in the bush. In addition, the animals will become more used to people and emboldened when people are around. We all know we don't want bears hanging about our properties. This is a huge safety issue. Many residents may need to purchase bear-proof containers or install other unsightly solutions like freezers at their lot lines. In a municipality with a high percentage of waterfront and rural property owners, leaving garbage at the curb doesn't seem to be a logical choice. And what happens to collection if that day happens to have a significant snowfall? I can visualize the snowplow punting bins into the bush, spreading garbage around as the roads are plowed. Our biggest issue, however, is that this proposal will unfairly impact seasonal residents, as they already find the recycling system unusable. They will end up hauling their garbage and recycling when they leave their cottages and disposing of it either at the landfill or transfer station if the schedule works, if it's along their route, or dumping it in the bush, human nature being what it is, or taking it back to wherever they live. Would you like to drive in a car with bags of garbage for 4 or 5 hours? More than half of our property owners do not live in nearby cities like Sudbury. Curbside pickup is in effect a reduction in service provided by the municipality. My own calculations throughout the past few months, based on the 40 properties on my road, show that only about 20% of properties are using the curbside blue box service. Thus, changing to curbside garbage pickup will likely have the same result with a number of other negative side effects as well. This means the solution doesn't work for 80% of the property owners. The matter of closing the transfer station on Shaw Road is again removing a service for people on the north side of Trout Lake. If people have to drive to the Noelville transfer site, it's a 14-kilometer drive each way from the site on Shaw Road. If going to the landfill, it's even further. One of the reasons given for choosing this site is that people from other municipalities are using the bins. Do you have statistics on this? How big a problem is it? I've heard anecdotal stories, but nothing with facts. We see that some private roads have received sheds for storing their recycling as the truck doesn't go down their private roads. There are at least 5 private roads off Shaw Road, for example, yet only one has gotten a shed. What are the criteria for this? The sheds also will have to be managed and could become as problematic as the transfer stations we have now, except only a select few users will have the option of using a shed 24/7. I have reports from Lafreniere Road, for example, that on the last recycling day, only 2 people used the shed. Seems to be an unnecessary expense. If operating the 2 transfer sites, Albin and Noelville, is not the chosen option, then curbside pickup should be scheduled on Mondays to minimize the amount of time garbage is left at the curb. Many of the problems with the current transfer sites relate to people not following the rules. People weren't recycling the proper things, and so contamination rates were very high. Inappropriate materials are often left at the transfer stations. Part of the solution is education. There has been very little of that in French River. I've received exactly 1 page in the past 10 years, which I still have, telling me what can and cannot go into the recycling bin. Education needs to be ongoing and frequent. People need to understand why things have to be done a certain way. And councillors are pointing to the major improvement in recycling now that curbside pickup is in effect. Of course, 80% of the people in my admittedly unscientific study are not using the system. I understand the potential cost savings are significant if option 2, curbside pickup, is selected, but it is not without other costs to the environment, community standards, inconvenience, taxpayer satisfaction, safety, and so on. Big city solutions don't necessarily work in small rural communities. Please give these issues proper consideration when making your decision on this issue. The garbage issue is a very complicated one, and every taxpayer has a different opinion based on how the options affect them personally. You are presenting us with 2 bad options. There is no good option here. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Linda. Next on the list is Malcolm Lamotte. So I would invite you, Malcolm, to come up.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to address this issue. I, like everybody here, am very invested in this community. My home is my major investment, and if this municipality prospers, my investment will also prosper. One other investment that I have is the money that I give to council to look after the services that I am supposed to be getting. So we all expect a return on that investment, and that return is in the form of services. So if services are cut that means our return on investment is not working in our to our benefit. So my needs as a taxpayer and as a resident reflects a lot of the needs that I've been hearing here. Before we had even the changes to the recycling, my needs were very well met by the bin system. At home, we compost coffee grounds, eggshells, fruits and vegetables, and the recyclables and a bag of garbage every couple of days, that suited us fine. We could just drop them off without any concern. There was some abuse at the bulk items and TVs and whatnot. That works out to about $12,000 a year of cost, additional cost for the municipality. So it's not a major thing, but we have to make sure that we do not punish everybody for a few people who are abusing the system. So trying to find some solution to that without having everybody pay the price in a reduction of services is what I'm hoping will be the prime decision for council. By going with curbside recycling, we've reduced the contamination of the materials, as the contractor can limit the collection to the true recyclable materials. Now we're looking at curbside waste collection. Both of these solutions, when we look at them correctly, they are a cut in service and an increase in costs for me and for everybody else. As a responsible user, it was very convenient to have 24/7 access. But now I have to find a place to store my recyclables because they are only collected every 2 weeks. If I happen to miss collection day, that means I have to have storage facilities for a month. I have a place to store them. Not everybody does, as we've heard. So if we go to collection of waste materials, it's going to be a further service reduction for me. Now I'll have to store my garbage for a week. And if I happen to miss that collection, that means I'll have to store that for 2 weeks. We've heard the problems and the costs associated with getting some type of a storage facility on my land or in everybody else's lots. And on collection day, if you don't have a secure container, you're going to get a lot of scavengers are going to be coming by to make a mess. We've got bears, raccoons, squirrels, crows, and it won't be long before they know the schedule. So they will be coming by and making a mess. If I want to solve the problem that I have to go to the municipal landfill, that's a 20-kilometer return trip. And at 2 or 3 liters for that trip, it's about a $4 or $5 expense. So by going to curbside, my services are reducing, my costs are going up, and it's not a very good return on my investment. So I would definitely hope that council will look at the bins behind a fence, monitored. You could even work recycling back into it, because if you have somebody monitoring, it would be as easily for our employee to monitor the recycles coming in as it would be for a contracted employee on the back of a truck. So I think that we have an opportunity here to help or service the I got lost in my paper here. But it would help to make sure that we get a good return on our money. So don't forget seasonals, they pay 100% taxes like everybody else, and they only look for maybe 25%. So take them really into consideration. Thank you for this opportunity. I guess I could have spoken for another 10 minutes, but to be fair.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Thank you
No,
very much.
no, you're at 5 minutes and you just hit your 5 minutes. So thank you, Malcolm. I said you had 5 minutes and you just hit your 5 minutes. So you were right on. The next speaker is Diane Langley.
Oh, it's still on, right? Okay, sorry, I'm short. Diane Ross Langley, and I live at 211 Dion Road, which is in Elbin. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've read all the reports that were online, going way back to the original bylaw for waste management and recycling and stuff like that, because in order to understand the whole context of what is happening. I had lots to say. Some of it's been said, so I will try not to repeat that. Can we talk about the term curbside pickup? Yeah, Kevin, you've said several times the end of the driveway. That's what they told us, that they were going to come to the end of the driveway to pick up our recycling. Well, the end of my driveway is 1 kilometer from Delamere Road. Okay, so they do not come. We take that out. We put our and we asked, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I live on a seasonal road. So if we don't plow it, you can't come visit us and we can't get out. But we also don't want a lot of traffic when this frost is coming out of the ground and stuff like that. So here we have a seasonal road. We live there year round. And I have my garbage. I put it out on Delamere. So my question is, where on Delamere do I put it? Because the four corners, Chartrand and Dion and Delamere, are all privately owned. So even if I were to buy a bin, where am I going to put it? Because it's not the end of my driveway. Please.
Again, once a decision is made, whether it's option 1 or option 2, these are some of the challenges and the things we will address once citizens like you come ahead, and we will figure out
Well, and that's
solutions
basically
for
why
that.
I was here, because
As per,
I can't be the only seasonal road.
no, and seasonal roads for the most part go, it is exactly like you don't get plow services in the winter, your taxes reflect living on a seasonal or private road. Just like an island resident pays taxes that reflect them not having those same services. Your valuation's different. So as per your question, we would figure out a place to put it to accommodate, just like we did with all the sheds. If that was the decision council made.
Yeah.
And it really depends on what decision is picked before we start, going into these problems.
Well, I was
Because,
looking for solutions,
yeah,
right?
so we would be willing, like, of course, always willing to work with everybody. If that decision was made, but as of right now, we can't really, foresee any of these problems until one of the options are picked.
True. Well, I've got a better option is one, continue the education. Plus is say there has been some that has been done, but and a lot of us come from different communities. It's something that cannot be done enough. My mission right now is to like our recycling goes out. If from July it's gone out 7 times. I put it out once every 4 weeks, once every 6 weeks, because usually we miss it, right? It's like 7 o'clock. Oh, geez, it's 10:30, and there goes another week. We've missed the recycling. Luckily, the bins are bigger, and we have about 5 or 6 of them. So that was the one. The other is, a suggestion too is enforcement. And I know that has for the people that leave big bins, or stuff at the garbage, you know, and I know that there has been some effort, done that. It just didn't reflect in terms of, I'd like to see the column that says we charged all these people, you know, because they didn't. It's not, it's education. You can teach them the skills, you can teach them the knowledge, it's attitude. And if attitude is going to get changed by dinging them with a fine for putting it, you know, truckloads or whatever at the bin, yeah.
Just to answer your concern, it is in our quarterly reports for the bylaw department. I'm also the manager of that. So last year in waste management, I believe it was over 100, like 100 tickets we wrote for just the waste management. We brought on a second bylaw officer a couple of years ago just for these issues. So council has tried their hardest to address the
Yeah, no, I
policing of
think
these
then that
bins.
should be,
And the enforcement, we have handed out many
Good.
fines on the situation.
well, good, that's good to know, especially for the ones that are following the rules and, you know, like, as you say, don't put your recycles in a plastic bag. You know, open up the bin and there's all these plastic bags in there with the recycling. Couldn't you shake it out? Like it just, I get frustrated over it. We used to own a marina and there would be, people would bring their garbage up to go to their cottage and dump it there because they didn't want it stinking. So that's another, did you guys know that's a $305 fine if you bring garbage into the municipality? You know, and I just think maybe education, that everybody takes a responsible, thing. My goal is to try and reduce my footprint altogether so that I don't miss my recycling day because I don't have anything to go out. And that the only thing in my garbage will be wrappers that are clean and they can be stored until I have a bag full of them. You know, we lived in Aurelia. Your garbage went out every 2 weeks, but the recycling was every week and they had the green bin. And there was only, you were lucky if you filled a bag in 2 weeks. So, you know, if we can get people to do that. I think that was all my points. How many seconds do I have left? So
Minute.
1 minute. Oh, well. I haven't had supper yet. So, yeah, no, the education and stuff like that and the bylaws. No, that was all. Thank you for all the work that has been done prior to. Not an easy subject. Good luck.
Thank you, Diane. The last speaker that I have on my list is Joan Mercer.
Well, I'll have to really be good in the last. Well, mostly everybody said it.
Not really, no. Yes, my name is Joan Mercer Fryer and my address is 92 Sucker Creek Road in North Manettville. I don't think we've actually heard from, except for Claude, really, and he was talking more on the commercial line there. So I'm in the northeast corner of the municipality and I've been a permanent resident for 40 years. I'm in favor of option 2, garbage pickup. Our bins are gone in Manettville and I'm happy about that. I think that was a good thing, but please look at it from my perspective. I'm now hauling my garbage into Noelville, probably for the next 20 years, and paying more in taxes to do that. So that's not really an attractive option for me. I feel as though garbage pickup would be more equitable. Everybody would be getting the same service. And I think you do open yourself up to speculation that some residents are more important than others. In other words, at Noelville and Albin, you know, where there are more residents, that they're getting more out of this than people like us out in Manettville. And that maybe, you know, residents aren't as important as non-residents. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying that you could be opening yourself up to that. As well, in Manettville, the opposite side of the road is West Nipissing, as I'm sure many of you are aware of, and they have garbage pickup. So I'm trundling my garbage down the road and looking at all the bags of garbage that are out for pickup on Tuesday mornings. Now, I'm at the West Arm Narrows of Lake Nipissing. And so my neighbors, many of them are non-residents. And as well, the people on the other side of the bridge live in West Nipissing, like Claude. And they get garbage pickup. I have never heard any of the non-residents. I have a friend who lives water access only. I've never heard her complain about garbage, that, I mean, she just takes it with her. And I know sometimes she even takes it to Levine. What else did I want to say? So that makes it pretty difficult to swallow for us out in Minettville there. And I wondered if the municipality, I mean, if you do go into this transfer bins in Noelville and Albin, would you consider having garbage pickup for us out there? Okay, and just about animals getting into your garbage. I mean, I live out in the sticks as much as anyone. And I mean, I have found that, you need a steel garbage can. You stretch a bungee cord across it. I mean, maybe this is simplistic. I don't know. You put your peelings in a compost pile, and I've never had animals in my compost pile, except for my dogs. And at the Minettville Community Center, which is on the other side of the highway in West Nipissing, there's a homemade garbage bin made out of thick plywood with a hinged top on it that slants down like this. I mean, we've put garbage into that bin, from dinners and stuff, which had a lot of food waste, and it's probably sat there for a few days anyway and never had any problems with it. And most importantly, I mean, this was already talked about, but in this time of rising costs, why would we choose the most expensive option? So members of council, please consider choosing garbage pickup for our municipality. It is the most equitable and the most cost-effective option. Thanks.
Thank you, Joan. Now, I know there are a number of people here that haven't spoken. So this is the time for those that didn't register who would like to say a few words or address council or staff to please do so. And just come up to the podium. Yes, please. So when you come to the podium, please identify yourself and where you live.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak in council. My name is Diane Susky, and I live at 142 Cherryman Road, which is in Noelville and just off the Shaw Road. I just want to reiterate what Linda LaChance had said as a member of the Trout Lake Campers Association, that it's very inconvenient to have roadside pickup. And I think there should have been an option C on those proposals, which include roadside pickup for the people in more urban areas and possibly a modified form of pickup for the people that live in the more rural areas like us. For example, the little huts that you have for the recycling, those are locked containments, and they're only available to people on unserviced roads. So it seems that the people with a lower tax levy get the advantage of 24-hour, 7-day-a-week recycling opportunities. And the rest of us that live in fully serviced areas have to hold our recycling or go right down to the landfill site. I'm not opposed to the landfill site being a main area of distribution for the garbage, but it's probably not very convenient for some of the folks that seasonally use their residences and can't make the times for the landfill site. My suggestion is, if you can control access to these cabins, why can't you control access to the bins, fence them, give the same residents keys to it, so you'll know who's dumping their their garbage in the recycling, leave the transfer sites there on Shaw Road, and just restrict the entrance to them to people with keys. I mean, you're doing it now with the cabins, so it just makes a lot more sense to install a fence than to have a truck come up and down those remote roads, and some of them are very difficult to access. And so I think that would be a good possible third option to consider. And I also would suggest that you don't put a transfer site right on the main drag in Noelville. I think it's very unsightly. And that I agree with Mike Bouffard that if you dress up the landfill site and make it more accessible, more people would be akin to using that facility as well. And my last point, because I don't want to be here too long, is to consider expanding the hours at the landfill site so that they're 100% accessible. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I didn't register to speak, so I really appreciate this.
My pleasure. Thank you, Diane. Is there anyone else who would like to say a few words? Please, if you do, please come to the microphone.
Good evening. I'm not prepared. I didn't plan on doing this, but I have no filter.
You have to first identify yourself.
I'm
before-
Caitlin Nobbs. I own Great Escape Cabins on 607. So I will not benefit from curbside, which is fine. Household wise, I still live at my residence. I have a say in that. That being said, we've had a lot of people bring up, let's have bins, let's keep bins. The reason that we're at the point we're at is because the bins and the trucks are no longer a viable option. We need to figure out option A or option B. Why would we go and spend all this extra money when we're already working with a leased contract to an outside company to have our recycle picked up? It would be an easy transition for everyone. Those that are seasonal, the dump is open 6 days a week in that case. So that's your option there. The rest of us will have our curbside that will be Monday morning, again, seasonal. Put it in your built bin, problem solved. It'll get picked up. I just think that everyone needs to consider the municipality as a whole, how much it's going to cost tax-wise, not convenience-wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Is there anybody else who wishes to say a few words? This is your time. Going once, going twice. All right. So first of all, I'd like to thank everybody that participated in this public forum. So the process again is now to consider your comments, gather more information, and as stated earlier, decisions going to be made on February 7th at council meeting, and I certainly invite everybody to come. I also encourage people to, even though usually it's hot topics that bring people to council, but as a council, we really appreciate having people either go on Zoom or come in person to hear what's going on, because there's a lot of work that this council does at all times. And the last thing I'm going to mention before I adjourn is that we have today's a very special day. We have a 92-year-old boy who today is his birthday, and we're going to be celebrating it right after the meeting, and I invite you to stay with us and wish Dean Winborn the best wishes. He's kind of special for all of us, so please stay afterwards. And on this note, I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Willie and Bob. All those in favor? Thank you. And again, thank you so much. Those of you who have written